Hello, my name is Susan Tapia, and the prompt that I chose was the role of madness and suffering. So the prompt does give us that madness and suffering are reoccurring themes that shape Ginsberg's worldview, and I think you can see that within the first line of the sentence of the poem, where Ginsberg does introduce the themes when he states, "I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving hysterically naked." So he's referencing that the madness and suffering is towards the people of his generation, the people in American society who are suffering and going mad as they are showing that as they are mentally ill. Perhaps there is mental illness being described there. I think a line that really stood out to me that kind of just went over elements of substance use, alcohol, and just mental illness was within lines 10 to 11 and line 9, where it says, "Who got busted in their public beards returning through Laredo with a belt of marijuana for New York, who ate fire and paint hotels or drank turpentine in Paradise Alley, death or purgatorized their torsos night after night with dreams, with drugs, with waking nightmares, alcohol, cock, and endless balls." I think that's that sentence line from the poem, lines 9 through 11, were a good example of a display of mental illness, of just him giving an anecdote of somebody from Laredo showing mental illness and displaying madness and suffering through their addiction. It seems to be an addiction. There's another line, fast forward into the poem towards lines 20 and 21, where it says, "Who vanished into nowhere, Zen, New Jersey, leaving a trail of ambiguous picture postcards of Atlantic City Hall, suffering, eastern sweats, and tangerine bone grinding, and migraines of China under junk withdrawal in New York's bleak furnished room." So there's a mention of keyword of junk withdrawal, and I'm assuming I interpret it to be like substance abuse, where he's from another part of the nation, New Jersey, going through having migraines, headaches, because of their drug withdrawal. So it's implying perhaps a drug addiction, and that's kind of just the madness and suffering that Ginsberg is describing. He uses these anecdotes of perhaps hypothetical scenarios that really are realities for a lot of people in society across the nation who might be experiencing what he is voicing, but it's just being swept under the rug. And I think there's a lot of vulgar language, such as going back to the first quote that I gave, where he uses words like cock and balls and purgatorizing. Like, there's just a lot of vulgar language and just explicit words that Ginsberg says, and that kind of just shows his frustration for all the issues and just things wrong with people in society at that time. I don't really have much context of what was going on back in his time, but it kind of just seems to be perhaps just that there is just a lack of help, or lack of people, of marginalized people not having a voice. And I think Ginsberg is a voice to those who are suffering, because he is quite literally giving examples of situations and scenarios that common people in American society are perhaps going through. Like I said, a reality for them, but there's no voice. No one just seems to be talking about them. And I think Ginsberg its point on human suffering is that it's very prevalent at the time, at the era, that human suffering is just ongoing, and it's sad. It's really just sad that there's no help, that there is no, maybe perhaps a change in culture or just societal views or pressures or whatever the case is. There's no just change. So Ginsberg describes mental illness various ways, like I said, through perhaps hallucinations, drug addiction, or just these scenarios where it's just not what society views as sane or healthy. It's just kind of showing instances of people being disturbed or just kind of that scenario. And he just uses these anecdotes of people to define that. And I think a lot of why there's madness and suffering, he thinks why people are being driven to that is given from a quote that I found fast forwarding into deep into the poem, where it says, I quote, "I'm with you in Rockland where we hug and kiss in the United States under our bed sheets, the United States that coughs all night and won't let us sleep." That's kind of just a reference for us seeing our country in a positive light, and it just not the nation at the same time has issues and troubles that come to distress us and alienate us, and that kind of just drives people mad. I think I'm running out of time, so I think that's it. Thank you.